Okay, here we go with part 9 of the video. Our diorama is pretty much dry. All this Mod Podge. Nice thick layer. Our rocks are dry. Paint's dry. So it's time to add some details. So I have these bags of plant life and some different colored rock. Some different leaved colors and textures, and some shrubbery. So, oh, and a little bit of grass. So between all these things, we're going to try and add some life and some motion to this. So the first thing I saw was this tree, and I really like it. So I thought maybe let's take our sculpture, put them in place where we want them. And then let's see. I think it actually goes better this way. So what I'm going to do is make a mark. Try and get that back out without breaking it. Then we're going to take some of this tacky glue. We're going to try and put some in the hole. And put some on the end. Then let's stuff this guy in place. Now this glue will dry clear, but that doesn't mean we want to leave a bunch of excess. So I'm just going to take my Q-tip here, tidy up any excess glue. Okay. So we already have scenery. All right. Then maybe over in here, let's put a couple leaves down. If I can get my glue out. Some random spots. And then I'm going to take a toothpick here and spread that glue out a bit. We're just creating places that the grass and the glue could stick, or the grass and the leaves can stick to the glue. So let's take just a tiny bit of this grass. Put a little bit up in here. Then I'm going to close this because I spill, so knowing my luck, I'm going to knock that flying. And then let's take some leaves. I'm going to go with this color because it's kind of in between. It's not quite the browns, and it's not quite vibrant green. We're going to stick some of those. And set them in our glue. Again, we're not looking for anything uniform. We're looking for random, sporadic. couple leaves down in here. Well, they really don't want to work with me. There you go. And let's just keep going with that process. So again, I'm going to put a lid on because I don't want to spill. And let's throw a couple rocks in with this mix. Maybe a rock there, rock there. Put a couple right here. So we're going to take a couple of different colors of rocks. Take a few browns. A couple gray. And a couple black. Alright, so it's a cool looking boulder. I'll take this one. Maybe a brown one with it. And let's see if we can take a small black one and get some glue on it. And add it in. Again, we'll take some black stone, and maybe a brown stone. Since we have that, we'll add a gray. So again, we're just adding a little bit of variation to the stone color, so it doesn't look like all one big blob of stuff. We're just going to push these stones into the glue. So you can find this little guy here. There you go, we're making some rocks on the ledge. Already starting to come to life. Now let's take a little bit more of this glue, and right in between these two, I'd like to put some shrubbery. If I can get my glue. So I'll put some shrubs there. Some shrubs here. Just gonna put some glue kind of in places where I think it needs a little something. Alright, let's take this stuff. And we're gonna take a chunk out. And start separating it into little pieces. Different size, different shapes. Can't be the same. Alright, and let's start by Just placing some of this on wherever we feel like it should be. So I think I want a decent sized bush right here. There we go. And we'll put a little stringer. Let's put it coming down the rock. So you can see I'm laying it down inside the edges here. Push that into the glue. Should we make this bigger? Yeah, let's make this bigger. There, right there on the edge. We'll add a little more to this side. And we'll bring a couple rocks into it too. Oops. All right. Looking pretty good again. So let's just close this before anything bad happens. And then let's go with a little bit more of this grass. Just spread that around a bit. Okay, let's take a small, quick look at that. Let's place our sculpture back on where we want them, just to get an idea. All right, so I think we need to do something in here. This, I'm happy with this, but this needs something. So I think we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna add some moss in these rock ledges here, probably maybe in this ledge here, and maybe a bit more plant life along the top. So let's do that. Let's get our glue. Some down in this corner. All right, let's see how that goes. Wipe off my lid. What else do we have for plants in here? Let's take a look at this guy. It's just sitting here. What if? let's just leave that aside for now. Okay, so let's take some more shrubbery. And let's see what we can do here. Kind of want this one to hang over the edges. Let's get that jammed up in that corner so it's growing into the crack. Bring in a bit more of that rock. Okay. Okay, let's take this little piece of shrubbery. Just a tiny little piece here that fell off. Let's add it to it. See if we can get some more of this little leaf residue. So again, we're just trying to create things that attract the eye. Okay. I really like the shape of this one, how it dangles. So let's put that hanging down. Right. Let's take a little bit more of that grass. Okay. So let's take this. Put that back. Get those. This is not working out well, but waste not, want not, so try and salvage what we can. secure that. We have a bit of glue just sitting there, and we have some rocks sitting here, so let's finish that off. Okay, so we have 4 black rocks left. Put them back next time. This one back. This away. All right, this goes in here. Okay, just gonna move this aside for a sec. And we're just gonna give our workspace here a little bit of a cleanup. I don't know if you can see, but my garbage can was empty when we started this project. Okay. So we're not going to use any of these. Don't need any of these. All right, so now set him where we want him, roughly. Take a look how that's going. Okay, so now if you just give me 1 second here, I'm going to grab some resin and we're going to start doing a pour of resin. So just give me 1 second here to grab the materials and I'll be right back. Okay, so we're going to start with a UV resin before I do the epoxy, just to make sure we can seal all these areas. I don't know if you can see, but there's a cliff in there, so the water will go right through, the resin will go right through. So I think what we should do actually is we're going to mix up a small batch of epoxy resin and just put a base in instead of even bothering with the UV. So again, if you just give me 1 second here, I'll grab the proper materials. All right. So we got a measuring cup here, goes up to 100 mils. So the epoxy I'm using is a 2-part epoxy. So we're going to do 50 mils of part A and 50 mils of part B. So we're going to get some gloves on here. Alright, so 1, and 2. So let's start here with using Let's Resin epoxy resin 1:1. So we're going to take part A, move this out of the way. And we're going to make a mark because I'm old. Alright, so we're going to make a mark right here. 50. Okay, so let's take this cover off. That cap. Let's go to 50. It's 20, 40, or 30, 40. I'm looking at eye level, so my eye is level with my red mark for 50 mil. If you look at it from above or below and notice, your mark will change and move. So you want to try and measure at eye level. I'm sure a scale would be great, but I don't have one of those. Alright, last little drip. Wipe off the lid. Cover back on. Alright, so again, that is epoxy resin part A. And there's a little mark at 50. Then we're going to do our B pour. Couple drips. Clean up the bottle. Back goes the lid. Alright, now need a stir stick. And a little bit of coloring for the resin. So this is a 5-minute stir. So from here I stir for 5 minutes, which I'm sure you guys don't want to see and it's boring. So what I'll do is I'll get it started. I'll add the pigment and then I will pause it and do my 5 minutes of stirring off camera so you don't have to watch that. So now I think I want a little bit of brown. These are acrylic inks, so they're very some are more translucent than others. We're just going to put a drop in there. Okay, so a couple drops of brown, a little bit of yellow ochre, and then we're going to do a little bit of sap green. Dab of yellow. And actually, instead of green, let's try this one. Teal. So we're just gonna shake them up. And let's drop a bit of teal in there too. And, all right. So again, let's just move these out of the way. Start to stir this and see what kind of color we got. I don't know if you can see, probably not, but you can see how it hasn't fully mixed in here. So adding the color originally helps to know if you're mixing your product properly. I find, for me anyways. It helps me know if I'm getting all the way to the bottom or... It's a little bit darker than I was hoping for, but that's okay. Okay, so I'm going to stir this for the 5 minutes, and then I will bring you right back. Alright, here we are. I put out a piece of parchment. I've been stirring and stirring. We got 1 minute left here. Just making sure to get all the edges. Make sure it's all blended well. Alright. So now let's get this area clear a bit. Get a piece of paper towel or two ready just in case. Alright. Then we're going to give this a little bit of a pour in the middle. Alright, just wipe that down a bit. Then I'm going to take my stick here and just make sure I push it all into the corners. Again, we're just trying to get this all filled in. All our gaps. All the edges. Alright, let's add some more. Let's see how that goes. So far, knock on wood, so good. Haven't seen any drips come pouring out. So again, we're just gonna spread this out. And add a bit more. The reason I'm going a little bit at a time is because I'm not 100% sure it's sealed, so I don't want to pour all this in at once and then have it come pouring out the sides. Okay, so again, we're going to pull it up the sides here. And I'm pushing it up the sides a bit to make it run back down naturally on its own. So we're just pushing it up the walls in the corners and then letting it come down on its own. Alright, let's try again for the middle here. And let's see how this goes. Okay, so we have that little space there, so we're going to tip this up a bit to make sure the resin doesn't run down that way. We have this one tipped up to make sure the resin doesn't ooze out the back. Okay, so then we're going to take our lighter. I got a long one in here. And I'm just going to pop the surface bubbles. And then you come back and pop them again and again if you want crystal clear, but we're making more like a marshland, so we don't really need crystal clear. Oh, see, as you see, the resin's already running. Still's running. Not ideal. So let's tilt that up. Oh, sugar. So let's put this side up. This side up. And hopefully that pushes all of the resin into this corner. Alright, let's see how that goes for a few minutes, but in the meantime we're going to add a little bit more detail. That seems awfully plain to me. So let's take a look at these leaves again. These are the colors. Turn them this way where you can see it. So I'm kind of thinking this is, again, the one that blends the best. So let's go with that one. And we're just going to sprinkle some on top. All right, that looks better already, I think. Okay, so now let's just sit him on top for now, where we want him. And that kind of seems to be the completed diorama. So just give me a second here to tidy up a little bit, and I will bring the camera down and we'll take a little bit closer of a look. So just give me a second here to grab the camera. Okay. And here we go. I will put acrylic rods in his feet, in the sculpture's feet, and glue them to the base. But for now, this is how our diorama is going to look when we're done. So I'd like to thank everybody who watched and supported the channel. Anybody who found it interesting. This is our first ever YouTube creation. Okay, everybody, thank you so very much. I hope you have a wonderful day and enjoyed my video.